Hello, everybody. Welcome back once again. Season 3, Episode 19 of Empire State Hoops. Rolling through the NBA playoffs. Still in the first round of the playoffs. Some teams have moved on. Others have not yet. And we're going to talk about all of that today. I'm your host, Adam Rothschild, and alongside me is my co-host, Marquise Frias. Join me once again here on this beautiful Wednesday afternoon here in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. And today's episode of Empire State Hoops is powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. So, the series between the Knicks and the Pistons.
Yep.
It has been probably one of the most physical playoff series you're going to see that we've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah.
So, we went through a lot of the first part of the series. Game 1 and 2, it's a split in New York. And then games 3 and 4, which we're going to get into now. Game 3 was the swing game. This is the game where Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller are on the call. You're like, maybe they'll favor the Pistons just because it's their first home playoff game in God knows how long. I believe it's been about only 6 years, but still. They got their first playoff win since 2008.
Yeah.
And they go home to Detroit. And they did a lot of good things in Game 3, but the Knicks still were able to match them in that perspective. And the big three for the Knicks, Cat, Brunson, and OG in this game, really carried them throughout. And the Knicks got off to that hot start and they really didn't look back. But when it seemed like every time the Pistons were making a run, the Knicks would have a response.
Yeah, no, and I was very happy to see how the Knicks played in this game. It was something with the hot start that was definitely, the reason why we won this game. All these other games, we've definitely got off to a slower pace with that first step. But now we're definitely, this game at least, we were starting off hot. Cat had a huge performance. He definitely came out of his shell in this performance, and we'll talk about it again. He came out of the shell again in Game 4, so I'm very happy to see this win. And I was, in all honesty, I didn't know which way this game would go. And you have the Pistons getting their first playoff win, and I believe we said it was like 15 years or something.
Yeah,
I think
2008.
2008, yeah. So it was that long ago, and they get their win. And in the Garden as well, a young team is going to get motivation and a lot of momentum heading back to their home. But the Knicks were able to take care of business in Game 3.
Yeah, they did exactly what they had to do, and that brings us into the controversy that was Game 4 in Detroit. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns was I don't know what he was on, but he was on something in this game. I mean, those shots he was taking from almost the logo, knocking them down. I mean, it got me off my feet, jumping from joy. But
yeah, and it's a shame that we were both working the softball game that day, and we couldn't watch the ending to that game. If I watched that ending, I would have probably broke at least 10 things in my room. Karl Anthony Towns, he quite literally looked like Stephen Curry out there. I mean, the first shot with the fadeaway behind the basket, Kobe-esque, and then you go ahead on the very next possession and bang a step back three from 30 feet. I was having this conversation with Ryan, who we've had on the show before. There's no other 7-footer in the NBA right now that's going to be able to do the two things that Karl Anthony Towns did in the final seconds of this game. With the game in general, though, we obviously have to talk about the shot. And what really transpired in those last couple of seconds. Obviously, Tim Hardaway Jr. had contact on his jumper with the 3-point field goal, and the call was not made. With that being said, I'm not going to be biased and say anything. That was a foul call outright. I mean, I would be as irate as a Pistons fan, or as if I was a Pistons fan, I would be as irate as they are right now. However, this is a physical series. The refs are going to miss a whole bunch of calls. They realistically, the Pistons have asked for a physical series, and they just got it, and it just so happened that it turned on the wrong foot. But I do agree that it was a foul call, and the call should have been made. I wouldn't have been mad of us losing like that if they called a foul on that.
Oh, yeah, I felt the same way, too. I was like, if it's a foul, it's a foul. It's whatever. Pistons win the game or go back to New York 2-2. But the only reason it's a good thing that it wasn't a foul is because of what happened in the next game, of course. But still, when you dive into that play, you see Josh Hart go into the shooting motion that Tim Hardaway Jr. was in. That should be a foul. And of course they wait until 30 minutes after the game to then call it a foul.
That's the one thing to me. I honestly really hate it whenever the refs are like, okay, yeah, that one was our bad. 30 minutes after the game and then nothing is done after it. Like, it would make sense if they were to like overturn the whole entire game. That would be completely and utterly unreasonable. However, it would only make sense why they're announcing that. And also, not to mention, Josh Hart was also fouled on the rebound, trying to get the rebound from after the Cade Cunningham missed 2-pointer, I believe it was, by Tobias Harris. So there was a lot of missed calls on that play. And you go back through that entire game. Like I said, it's a physical series. Whole bunch of missed calls. If the refs make one different call that game in the past couple possessions, we would not be where we were in the last couple of seconds in Game 4. So it's unfortunate that it had to end like that, and it's unfortunate that the Knicks had to win off that. However, we're going to see why in Game 5 it kind of was karma for the Knicks to get that foul, or to not get that foul call.
Yeah, and this doesn't just go for this Knicks Pistons series. This goes for the entire NBA.
Yeah.
Refs will miss calls. Nothing is going to be perfect. That's just the reality of the NBA these days. And even back in the day, you look at certain things. You wish, did Michael Jordan push Byron Russell in game 6 of the 98 finals for the last shot in a Bulls uniform? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But that was back in 98, so I can't argue that now. I wasn't even alive then. But getting back to the point where the karma kicks in. It kicks in Game 5. Both teams get off to a sluggish start last night. And it kind of seemed from the get-go that the Pistons knew that we were coming into this game, they knew just we had to play our brand of basketball.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they did in Game 5. And despite the Knicks got into a lot of foul trouble in this game. You had Karl-Anthony Towns in foul trouble. You had Josh Hart in foul trouble. Mitchell Robinson in foul trouble. That was your problem. When your two centers are in foul trouble, that is not good, because the question is, who else do you rely on? And, of course, the big thing to talk about in the end is going to be getting the stops we needed. The Knicks could not get any stops in the fourth quarter. It was a back-and-forth third quarter. The Knicks tied it at one point off the big three by Karl-Anthony Towns, but after that, they couldn't get anything going. And the problem was getting Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart back in the game. And for Tom Thibodeau, you have one timeout left. The problem is you can't call it there. You just can't. You have to see what you can do. But that's a big question too. Should Tom Thibodeau have called that timeout?
And that's something that I didn't really think of until literally probably this morning, just rewatching the game. There was 2 minutes left when the play happened where Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson literally got injured on the same exact play. And I believe that was it was a tie game, and Jalen Duren gets the easy putback dunk to go up by 2. You sub out Josh Hart and Jalen Brunson, which I understand. They both were literally on the floor and in pain, so I understand taking them out. But then immediately they have to check back in. Okay, you do that. But you do that when they're down 6 and the Pistons have momentum. The final timeout, it could have been called, I believe, I want to say with like 150 left in the game. Call the timeout, Tom Thibodeau. Get your two best players back on the floor and call the timeout. I am 100% okay with wasting the final timeout of the game to get your two best players back in the game. And without those two best players, we couldn't get a stop on defense. The rebounding was awful because Jalen Duren, I believe he got 2 more open baskets under the basket to extend the lead. And then the scoring on offense was non-existent without Jalen Brunson. With Mikal Bridges, he tried his best. In all honesty, I liked the shots that Mikal Bridges shot because those are his shots, but he just couldn't make them. It's a disappointment, and like I said, it's karma for what happened in Game 4, that Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart got injured within the last couple of seconds. But I can't complain about that too much because, again, we stole one in Detroit. I guess they can steal one here. But it was a lot. It was a lot. This game was really very frustrating to me. Like I told you off the air, I literally went to B-Dubs. I was excited. The food was great. I was eating so much all-you-can-eat wings. And then the Knicks choke a lead in the Garden. Not to mention, I believe the Knicks haven't clinched a series in the Garden since 1999.
Correct.
And that streak continues. It's continued for the past 2 years since we won the first round. It's something going on at home when the Knicks need to win an elimination game. I don't know what it is.
And that year they did clinch home as well. That team was an 8 seed that went to the NBA Finals and eventually lost to David Robinson and Tim Duncan and the Spurs. But that's not the question here. Now the question is, of course, we blame Tom Thibodeau in this situation in Game 5 with the closeout, but now you have to go back on the road for a Game 6 in Detroit. The Knicks won 2 games there, but right now, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It is 0-0, and you need to go in there and take care of business.
Yeah, so I'll talk briefly about Game 5. I did have a bad feeling that we weren't going to close it out. This series is seemingly reminding me of last year's series with the 76ers. We were just not able to close it out in Game 5 against them last year, and I had the same feeling going into this game. Going into this Game 5. Also, you think about the Game 4 ending. This young Pistons team they're going to come hungry and they want to win, especially in the Garden. I feel like they do play really well in the Garden for it being such a young team. So I'll give them credit where credit is due. However, going into Game 6, momentum is back on their side. The series is tied, or series is 3-2. However, it feels like it's honestly 2-2. You made it perfect. I think the Knicks need to go in with the 0-0 mindset. The score is 0-0, record is 0-0. You just need to win a game. I don't see why the Knicks can't win a game because, again, we had the same situation last time heading into Detroit where the Pistons steal one in the Garden and they have momentum heading back to Detroit. I feel like the momentum doesn't really mean much going into this Game 5 because the Knicks were able to take Game 3 and 4 at Detroit. So I think it's just a lot of stuff to do with the momentum of the Pistons and what the Knicks really need to do. I'll close it off real quick that I think in order for the Knicks to win this game, Brunson needs to go back to his normal form. He had only 16 points off of, I believe, I want to say 6 for 16 shooting. Awful game, and that was really the first time Brunson has let us down in the playoffs. If we get a vintage performance from him in that Game 5, we win the series, no doubt about it. But Brunson is averaging 13.3 points in the fourth quarter. That is on pace to be the most in NBA playoffs history since the stat was starting to be tracked in 1997. And before Game 5, he had 4 straight 30-point games in the postseason, the first to do it since Michael Jordan in 1998. Jalen Brunson just needs to get back to his form. Let us ride the wave of our captain. We'll be all right. And also, Mikal Bridges needs to step it up a little more. I love him. I think the acquisition was a great move, but he's just not been showing worth those 5 first-round picks. He needs to step it up. If we could get a 20-point performance out of him, we also win the game.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a matter of everyone stepping up to the challenge and going back on the road in Detroit. It's just like when LeBron and the Heat were down 3-2 to the Celtics. He had to go play a Game 6 in Boston, and everyone counted him out. He went in there and blew them out.
Yeah, it's definitely in a situation like that, and this is really going to show the integrity that the Knicks team has. We've talked about it all year. It just feels like sometimes the Knicks just lose that energy. We haven't seen it yet in the playoffs, thankfully. However, when we've seen them time and time again lose that energy, you just can't do that in Game 6. And you need to play basketball in this next game or in these next 2 games if the Pistons force a Game 7. I would honestly be appalled if the Pistons force a Game 7. However, the Knicks just need to get done what needs to get done and take care of business in Detroit come Thursday night.
But now the other question I wanted to close our Knicks Pistons talk part here is, if the Pistons win Game 6, it's going to be a Game 7 at the Garden on Saturday, May 3rd, I believe.
Yeah.
So the question is, we go to a Game 7. The problem is anything can happen.
Anything can happen in a Game 7. And realistically, anything can happen in a Game 6. I honestly hate Game 6s where the team that was down 3-1 comes back and they force a Game 6. I hate those type of games because realistically, all you need is 1. And then when you go into a Game 7, both teams feel like they have a chance of winning. There's not one-sided or anything. Both teams will think that they have the best chance of winning when heading into a Game 7. So that's what scares me the most. Right now for Game 6, I would say I'm at like a 5 out of 10 of worriedness. Going into Game 5, I was like at a 3 out of 10, 2 out of 10. Game 5 or Game 6 is kind of scaring me a little bit. And I just need another Jalen Brunson performance and I'll be fine. But this Knicks team as a whole just needs to play better because Game 5 they also shot horribly as a team. All of our starters, none of our players, by the way, scored over 20 points. So we just need to get done what needs to get done in Game 6.
And we're going to see if the New York Knicks are going to be capable of that. Let's also remember, this is the only first-round series that is still in play. The Celtics are already moving on. The Cavaliers are moving on. And the Indiana Pacers beat the Milwaukee Bucks in 5 last night. And we're going to talk all about all 3 of those series and how they wrapped up with tons of controversy and even more physicality, even in the Celtics and Magic, which we're going to touch on a little bit. But we'll be right back after the break, and we'll touch on the rest of the Eastern Conference playoff picture going into the Eastern Conference semifinals, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Hey there, basketball fans. Are you ready to take your love for the game to a whole new level? Well, listen up. We've got something that will make your hoop dreams come true. Introducing Sport Pros USA, the ultimate destination for all your backyard sport court needs. Whether you're a diehard Knicks fan or just looking for some slam dunk fun with your family, Sport Pros USA has got you covered. Picture this. It's a sunny afternoon in New York, and you step out onto your very own custom-built backyard basketball court. The court where legends are born and memories are made. A court where you can unleash your inner baller and shoot hoops like your favorite Knicks players. But it's not just about basketball. It's about family, friends, and fun. Whether you're hosting a game of horse with your buddies or teaching your kids how to dribble and shoot, Sport Pros USA brings the magic of the game right to your doorstep. Our courts are more than just a place to play. They're a place to connect, bond, and create unforgettable moments. And with Sport Pros USA, you can have it all, right in your own backyard. We're not just building courts, we're building dreams. Dreams of buzzer beaters, comebacks, and endless laughter. So why wait? Give us a call at 877-HOOPS-NJ or visit sportprosusa.com today to start designing your very own backyard basketball court. Remember, at Sport Pros USA, we believe that every home deserves a court, and every family deserves the joy of playing together. So don't just watch the game, be a part of it.
And we are back here once again, Season 3, Episode number 19 of Empire State Hoops with some more NBA playoff action. I'm your host, Adam Rothschild. Alongside me is my co-host, Marquise Frias. Join me once again here as we just wrapped up our talk about the Knicks and the Pistons, as the Knicks are heading back to Detroit for a Game 6 as the Pistons forced Game 5 and now force a Game 6 back on their home floor in Detroit on Thursday night. So the rest of the Eastern Conference is a wrap in the first round of the playoffs as of last night, besides the Knicks and the Pistons. Tyrese Halliburton and the Pacers. The 4-seeded Pacers beat Giannis and the 5-seeded undermanned Milwaukee Bucks. Damian Lillard went down with a season-ending Achilles injury, which, of course, prayers up for him. Of course, hopefully he has a speedy recovery.
100%.
But the main big thing was, of course, the game went to overtime. The Bucks had a 118-111 lead with around 40 seconds to go, and they choked.
Yeah, I honestly didn't really watch that Pacers game just because I was way more fixated on the Knicks game, obviously. But I did not know that they were up 118-111 with 36 seconds left in the game, and they absolutely choked that lead. That was probably one of the biggest choke jobs I've seen in the final seconds of an NBA playoff game. Tyrese Halliburton, man, that was honestly incredible. I hate Halliburton, but that was an incredible display of clutch genes in his veins. So all credit is due to the Pacers and Tyrese Halliburton for those 2 layups that he had. First one, it was a nice and one layup, and he got the foul call. Second one was on Giannis Antetokounmpo, just taking him right to the rim and getting that layup to take the lead. Now, that brings me to what happened after the game, and that's where I kind of want to focus on a little more, because I honestly had the Pacers winning the series either way with Damian Lillard out or not. And again, prayers up to Dame. That was just a huge tragedy to see. However, what we saw from Tyrese Halliburton's father after the game, I feel like was completely disrespectful to the entire NBA. And I'm seeing a lot of opinions on it about what had happened and what had transpired, but I feel like Giannis is not in the wrong whatsoever. I think all the blame has to go on Tyrese Halliburton's father.
Yeah, I completely agree, because you're talking about Giannis, who's a guy who's been there, who's won a championship.
Yeah.
Despite his 3 straight first-round exits, has been kind of lifted under the radar a little bit on certain things, and I don't think it was right for his dad to get involved, for Halliburton's dad to get involved in that, just because they won a series and just bragging to him. I wouldn't brag to a guy who's won an NBA title before. It's just not what you do.
It's not even that. It's the thought that he dared to go on an NBA court after the game and talk crap to probably the best player on the floor. any other fan is going to get a lifetime sentence or lifetime ban from any NBA game and possibly an arrest for those actions. And Giannis or Tyrese Halliburton's dad is very lucky it didn't escalate too quickly because he initiated that. He instigated all of it. So I would have not been surprised had Giannis done something violent to Tyrese Halliburton's dad. Now, that being said, I do know Tyrese Halliburton's dad. He's a very emotional fan. Obviously, he just saw his team and his son go to the second round and his son make those two great plays. So I can understand the fired upness from him, and with his actions, but that doesn't make it justifiable. I was in shock to see what I saw from Tyrese Halliburton's dad after the game.
Yeah, it just doesn't it doesn't give you the motive to go talk to the player on the opposite team.
It really doesn't. Yeah, and it's just the same to see because he took Halliburton's moment, what his dad did. It honestly is a blur what Halliburton did in that game, all because of what his dad did after the game. So I'm glad that he was able to come out and apologize right after, and Tyrese Halliburton did the same thing. But again, it's just a shame to see that what had happened last night.
Absolutely, but the big question is with the Milwaukee Bucks having 3 straight first-round exits after winning their NBA title back in 2021 over the Phoenix Suns, what do they do from here? Because they've had so many different coaches in the past few seasons, from Mike Budenholzer to now Doc Rivers, and it's just gotten to a point now where really it was in Game 5, Gary Trent Jr. was carrying the Bucks, not Giannis.
Yeah, no.
So that's the big thing here. So if you're the Bucks, where do you go from here? Because Giannis still has value at the age he's at right now, and he wants to win. He doesn't want to lose in the first round of the playoffs every single year. I've seen rumors about him possibly going to the Lakers. I've seen rumors about other teams around the league. But I think if you're Giannis, you've been loyal to Milwaukee throughout your entire career for these past 10 or 11 years or so. What does the Bucks front office do from here? Because they know with having just brought in Damian Lillard last offseason, it's just been about a process about figuring out what do you do from here.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. Firstly, Giannis played incredible despite what his team put out there on the floor. Giannis played incredible throughout this whole series. He ended Game 5 with I'm blanking on the stat line, but it was 30, 20, and 10. And I think he did that twice in that series. So all credit goes to Giannis. He was playing his butt off the entire series. However, it does rise up conversations now with this is 3 straight first-round exits in the playoffs. It's definitely something to talk about with Giannis and the front staff in Milwaukee. You don't want to see something like that happen. Like, in all honesty, I love Giannis in Milwaukee. I think he's definitely going to go down as probably the greatest player ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to wear a Milwaukee Bucks uniform. And it's also the fact that he's an international-born player. He did not know anything about the United States before getting drafted to Milwaukee. And in all fairness, Milwaukee is the only way of life he knows in the United States. So it's hard for me to see Giannis be moved after this. I think you mentioned his loyalty, and I think it still stays because I don't think he would do what he did after Game 5 if he didn't love Milwaukee. I think he would do something completely utterly different other than that, what he did last night. But it's definitely some interesting talks to talk about. I've seen a lot about the Lakers as well. Him joining Luka after LeBron retires could be a possibility. It's definitely going to be interesting to see what Giannis and the Bucks do moving forward now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a huge story, of course, but the end of the story is Milwaukee season's over. Indiana's moving on to the second round of the playoffs for the second straight season, and beating the Bucks in the first round for the second straight season.
Yeah, it's definitely something. I give all props to the Pacers. I did have them winning this series. However, I didn't think it was going to be in this dominant fashion. I think they really showed that they're a complete team, and I think they can genuinely make the second round matchup against the Cavs a series. And we'll talk about that later. But yeah, all credit is also due to the Indiana Pacers as well.
And that carries us over into another playoff series, which also concluded last night, the Celtics and the Orlando Magic. The Magic kind of made it a fight a little bit. They ended up winning Game 3 on their home floor after being down 2-0, losing the first 2 in Boston. But they had a chance in Game 4. They played some very good physical basketball, but the Celtics just did what they do with their championship pedigree, and they come in on the road and win Game 4 to go up 3-1, and then it was kind of a close game throughout. In Game 5, I was keeping an eye on the score a little bit in Game 5, and Orlando was kind of keeping it close, but the Celtics finished the job and they're moving on to the second round, and they're waiting on the Knicks or the Pistons for their next opponent.
Yeah, and we were talking about it off camera. The Celtics winning in 5 and the Knicks not being able to win in 5 is huge. Is something huge going into the next round if the Knicks win. We talked about Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart already being banged up, and if had they won in 5 last night, they could have easily got another day's worth of rest with Josh Hart and obviously Jalen Brunson being banged up. But now you go into Game 6 and the Celtics are waiting. They're going to be fully rested while you guys are probably going to have only 3 days to rest. So it's definitely something to keep an eye out for this series if the Knicks win. However, I thought the Celtics played the basketball that they should, took care of business. I did like how the Magic made it an interesting series with that Game 3 win. I thought that was very interesting, and they almost had a chance to steal one again in Game 4. But I would love to see the Orlando Magic build off this. I think this is their first playoff experience, including last year against the East. So I want to see them keep building, and I think they do got something special going on in Orlando right now.
Yeah, shout out to Jamal Mosley, who's been doing a lot of great things with the Magic. 2 straight playoff appearances. Last year took the 4-seeded Cavs to 7 games, and this year took the defending champs to 5. Very impressed by what this young Orlando team has been able to do behind the young rising star and Paulo Banchero, of course. So it's been awesome to watch him as well.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Paulo Banchero is one of those players in the NBA. It's weird to say it, but I compared him to the Tracy McGrady of the old NBA, where he's one of those stars that can just get it done, but his team is not that good, so he's going to have those first-round exits in the playoffs. I do see Tracy McGrady a lot when I look at Paulo Banchero, so hopefully they know how to build around him going into this offseason, and hopefully they are a competitive team, because they were looking like one of the best teams in the East going into or in like the first month of the season, but then they saw the injuries happen midway through the season, and that kind of derailed them going into like top 4 in the East. So now they find themselves at 7, matching up with the defending champs. Obviously not going to end well, but I do like how they were able to make this one an entertaining series for sure.
The McGrady comparison I was really surprised by, and now thinking about it, I really do kind of notice that a little bit in his game, especially on his jump shot a little bit too.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't think about it necessarily as actual like playing style, but more of like how their careers are going. They're young stars. They're both, obviously Tracy McGrady's not a young star now, but when he was a young star, both were on the Magic as well, but just couldn't seem to get it done when it mattered most. But still were so impressive on the court. So again, I'm very excited to see what the Orlando Magic could do with Paulo Banchero and crew.
So a bright future for the Orlando Magic as they'll ride their wave of momentum into next season after 2 straight playoff appearances, putting up good fights against very good competitive teams in the Eastern Conference. And that brings us to a series where embarrassment has landed on South Beach. The Miami Heat have been swept for the second time in, I believe the past 4 years. The last time they got swept was by the Milwaukee Bucks in 2021.
Yeah.
So a Jimmy Butler-less Miami Heat team in the playoffs has proved that they cannot do anything because they got swept by the best team in the NBA all year. The Cavaliers did exactly what they had to do, capped off by a 55-point win in Game 4 to convincingly end Miami's season.
Yeah, no, this was, the Cavs just needed to get done what needed to get done. I did honestly really like the Miami Heat as an 8 seed. Thought they could do some damage, but I was completely wrong. These guys looked like a 12 seed instead of an 8 seed. So, again, kind of disappointing with that, but this now brings us, this was a gimme series. We all knew that the Cavs were moving on. This now brings us to the Cavs versus Pacers, which I find to be a very intriguing second round series. Pacers obviously coming off the Game 5 win against the Bucks. Cavs making easy work against the Heat. This is going to probably be the Cavs' first test of the playoffs and to really see just how much of a contender they are. However, I do think the Pacers can make this a series, man. I do love the way they're playing basketball. Just the complete overall team right now that I'm seeing from the Pacers, and I can honestly say I got the Cavs in 6, and with credit to the Pacers making it a series.
Yeah, I think my prediction is going to shock a lot of people, and I think with this second round series, but you got 2 teams in the same division in the Eastern Conference and 2 teams that really know each other really well, play each other 4 times every year.
Yeah.
I really think this is going to surprise me again. We know what Indiana did last year. They beat the Bucks, they beat the Knicks in 7, and then they got swept by the Celtics. But my thought process with this, I really think that Indiana can win this in 7 games. I think they can. I think if they can win at least 2 games on the road, they can win this series. I really think Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, and Miles Turner, I really think that they have a young core with a lot of good depth. They showed it last year against our Knicks. If they can do it to the best team in the NBA, round of applause for me. I mean, I would be impressed. But
it would definitely be something if the Pacers can beat them in 7, and I see it as a possibility, but I think it's more likely that the Cavs will beat them in a 6 games. I said this earlier to Ryan again off camera, but I think this series definitely goes in 6 or 7 either way. There's no way this series ends in 4 or 5 in my opinion. These teams are just too good for them to go out like that. So with that being said, my final prediction will be Cavs in 6.
So interesting Eastern Conference slate coming up with the second round of the playoffs starting next week.
Yep.
So first round of the playoffs is wrapping up. The Western Conference playoffs. We do have, I believe there's one matchup already set in the second round. I believe it's
Thunder Grizz, or no, one matchup or one series set, because the Thunder Grizzlies matchup, Thunder already took it off.
Thunder moved on, but they're still waiting on waiting on Denver or the Clippers.
Yep.
That series is going to have a game 6 in LA. Denver won game 5 last night to take a 3-2 series lead behind the brilliance of Jamal Murray.
Yep.
LeBron and the Lakers, game 5 tonight for them in LA, facing elimination. Potentially could be LeBron's last game of his career. We don't know.
That will be something if Anthony Edwards can retire LeBron James. I'm going to flat out say it. Anthony Edwards is on a roll right now in the playoffs, and he has the opportunity to beat Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, and LeBron James in two playoff years. So that will be something else. And then he's most likely going to see Stephen Curry in the second round. So wouldn't that be something? Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, and Stephen Curry in the first 2 playoff series, like that, or in 2 playoff years, that would be absolutely crazy.
Let's also remember, if that is a second round series, Minnesota versus Golden State, you do not want to see Jimmy Butler against Anthony Edwards.
That would be absolutely crazy. I wanted a Lakers-Warriors series. However, with how Anthony Edwards has been playing, with how Jimmy Butler has been playing, I wouldn't be mad at a Wolves-Warriors series at all.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to Julius Randle too again. I mean, he's been playing a little bit better as it seems. I mean, he had a great game 4 for Minnesota against the Lakers, but we'll see how the West shapes out. I mean, Ja Morant just got absolutely destroyed by the best team in the Western Conference, so he's French toast and he's out of their season's done. So that's a wrap for us on our 3rd season of Empire State Hoops. I want to give a huge shout out to you, Marquise. Thanks for stepping in for the role of Matt Varga, who set the tone with me throughout the start. And with our college semester coming to an end, we will not have any more episodes throughout the rest of the playoffs. But we'll keep you posted on social media and everything throughout the summer, throughout the rest of the playoffs and the NBA Finals, NBA Draft, with the offseason coming up not too far away. And then next season, and we'll see what happens with the New York Knicks in the outcome. So today's episode of Empire State Hoops has been powered by Sport Pros USA. For more information, visit sportprosusa.com or call 877-HOOPS-NJ to make your dream court a reality today. So, we'll see if the Knicks can close it out in Detroit, or they'll have to go to a Game 7. The winner of that series will be playing the Boston Celtics, and we'll see how the rest of the NBA playoffs shapes out. But from here, for the final time this season on Empire State Hoops, I'm Adam Rothschild. Alongside me has been Marquise Frias. And we'll see you next season. Enjoy the summer. Hopefully we'll send the Pistons to Cancun.
Go Knicks.